Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have a really exciting interview today about helping individuals become the CEO of their life and business. Today, you'll be meeting Julie DeLucca, a woman in the middle entrepreneur who's part of the sandwich generation and is a business and life strategy coach who helps women build and grow the business of their dreams. Welcome to the show, Julie.
Hi, Suzy. Thank you so much for having me. It is such a pleasure to be able to chat with you today.
Totally agree. I'm excited you're here. I know we're going to have a really good conversation about your midlife entrepreneur story. We're going to be talking all about your business, what's going really well, and also what midlife issues or hiccups might be getting in your way to some degree and challenging you a little bit in your life as well as being a business owner. I'm going to start with everybody's favorite question around here because we don't mind talking about our age. How old are you? How long you've been an entrepreneur? A little bit about how you got where you are. And what exactly you do. Take it away.
Yeah. So thank you again. I have to tell you that I am 53 and I am proud to be 53. I'm saying I'm 53 as we begin this interview, but really it's not April yet. I will turn 53, but for all intents and purposes, I am already practicing.
Absolutely.
And the thing that I would say about being an entrepreneur officially, on paper, I have been an entrepreneur since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. But I would say the entrepreneur part in my heart has lived since forever, as long as I can remember. My first business was when I was 12 years old. I would get off the bus and we lived near where my mom worked for the Miami Opera. And I would go into the office and there's a lot of creative types that were super busy. And I would go in and I would say, hey, what do you need? I will run your errand. I would go to the dry cleaners, the pharmacy, or grab them a cup of coffee from the coffee shop. And I would charge them a little bit for what they did for my services. And again, I've always had a little something going on because I want to just explore that part of me. And I really, really love it. That's been part of me.
So, oh my goodness. So here comes Nico. Nico wanted to meet you, Julie. He's been sleeping all morning and he just walked in. So here he is.
He is gorgeous. Hello, Nico. Oh my God. He needed to meet me. He knew I was a dog person. So
Absolutely.
Adorable.
Thank you. We do call him Mr. Handsome.
He is Mr. Handsome. All right. Oh my gosh. I saw him out of the corner coming around and I thought, oh, is he not gorgeous?
Oh, he just got groomed too. So he's particularly gorgeous right now.
Oh, he's looking very dapper then.
He smells better too. That's for sure. So I love that. So you were charging people to run errands. Now, where'd that idea come from?
You know what? I don't know. It was just the kind of thing where I saw the need as I would go and check in and say, hi, Mom, I'm on my way home because we lived around the corner. And I'd realized that everybody just seemed busy and they wanted things. And I thought, oh, here's a need. I can fix that for them. And I think that this is the entrepreneur spirit. You see a need and you're like, I can do that. And it's what it's all about. And it's also, once you decide what the need is, it's about then delighting the people that you are servicing, because then they become repeat customers and they tell somebody else about what you're doing. And I remember that I used to do it with my mom's administrative assistant, or secretary, as they were calling that time. I know I'm dating myself, but this is what it's about. And I used to go and, believe it or not, the times have changed. I used to go and pick up her birth control pills at the pharmacy, but she loved it, right? She would just send this 12-year-old to get her stuff and she would tell somebody else. And as I was walking the hallway, someone's like, oh, hey, I heard that you're running errands. Can you do this? Absolutely. And it was how I spent a little bit of my afternoon before I got to homework. And I always had money to do the things that I wanted because I was earning money. Nobody would really hire a 13-year-old at a store with a
No.
professional job.
This is the cutest story ever. Do you remember how much you charged them?
So I would charge depending on what the errand was. Foremost, what I would say is like if I was buying something for them, I would charge whatever the change was plus $1. And some people would give me a tip in addition to that. And I would keep track. Oh my goodness, I'm really dating myself. I
We
would
love
keep
dating
track
ourselves. We love it.
my diary of how much I did in the base costs, but also how many people would tip. And for the people that didn't tip, I would go out of my way to say, hey, this has been so great. Is there any way that I can help you or serve you better? And I know that I started to see that tips would increase, or the people who didn't tip eventually would start. It was really fun to keep track of these little numbers. And by the way, this is the thing that data is so important as we're doing our business. We have to keep track of what worked, what doesn't work, because then that informs how we move forward.
Absolutely. Okay, so a lot happened between the time you were 13 running errands, being so entrepreneurial, which is this
Yeah.
is the best story ever. To what happened to get you where you are now? Did you
Yeah.
work for people along the way?
I did. So I began a career in education, believe it or not. I wanted to be a teacher. I came from a family of a lot of teachers, and I knew that I have this passion for helping others and teaching. So it came very naturally to me. Eventually, what happened is I became very tired as a teacher. I taught preschool and pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. Really, it's a lot of work.
Oh boy, yeah.
And I was very broke. And I knew that I wanted more for my life. And certainly teaching was exhausting. And I knew that I needed to change that. I was recruited by an educational company. I had a background in working at retail because I put myself through school. So I worked in retails. I reached management in retail stores for Federated Department Stores, Macy's, et cetera. And with the background of being a retail employee, management, but also teaching, this organization recruited me to run one of their tutoring company here in the States. And I was given the position of running one of their tutoring centers. It was the lowest performing center in the system of over 400 tutoring nationwide. And I really wanted to, of course, the competitive lady in me wanted to make it better. And I realized we went to a national conference for all of the centers, and I sat in the audience and I looked at all these individuals who were running centers that were very successful. And what I was seeing is that yes, they were making a lot of money, but also those were actually lives that they were impacting part of that. So I got in the elevator, going to my room, and the founder of the company, one of the co-founders, got in the elevator, and I had been probably with the company 6 months. And Mrs. So-and-so, I have a question. How do I get on that stage? And her eyes light up, and she said, I will tell you, create great relationships because they will refer your students.
There you go.
And sure enough, by the following year, I was on that stage. I was one of the top performing, and that opened up the beginning of my career. I got promoted shortly thereafter. Then I went into the training department, and my relationships with school districts, with school administrators, and with parent organizations was very strong. And I happened to be in the right place at the right time. There was a legislation being passed here in the States to provide tutoring services at the school district level, and federal funding and local school district funding was going to pay for it. So the VP of Business Development took me under his wing because he knew I had the relationship, and he started to coach me and mentor me to help him grow this brand new division of the company. And by the time I left, I actually had replaced him as the person who oversaw this new division business line. We had over 150 school districts, and really I learned everything that I needed to. And I reported to both founders of the company. And I reported to him and to her. He was the CEO and she was the chief operating officer. So unlike a lot of executives or people who are in a corporate environment, you either know development in business development or operations. But for me, I got to learn both. And I knew and again, this company does an extreme good job at really mentoring their employees and growing from within, at least the time that I was. And they would teach us everything about marketing, about sales, about everything that you needed to do to really be able to run and help the franchise owners or the local centers really be able to grow that as a mom and pop business, but really having the right tools and environment. So I learned a lot of that. And I went to another company that I wanted to maybe not travel so much around the United States as I was doing. And this new company, very similar, a competitor of sorts, but the owner of the company, we had become friendly in one of the trade organizations. She offered me to come work for her. She wanted to take her company out of New York City and expand it nationwide, but she didn't know how because she was a teacher. And all she knew is that for the past 20, 30 years, she's a teacher, but had started this very successful company in New York and knew that there was more there, but didn't know what to do next. So I came in and it was a really fun challenge to be able to then help her grow this small business into, in its own right, a very successful multi-million-dollar company that serviced students and provided services to schools and teachers and outside of New York City and several states. And I was there for a while. I started to kind of think what would be next for me. I got married, moved to Connecticut, and still commuted to New York City about 2 hours into the New York City area for work, and traveled and was doing a lot of that. And I thought, someday I want to do something on my own, but I wasn't sure what that was. Throughout this career, I continued to be promoted to the next level, to the next level. And by the time my last role in that company was Chief Innovation Officer. So I oversaw all of the contracting and developing new business, but also helping contracts and run them and make sure that we were doing the thing to do.
Your path forward is fascinating. And that's why I clapped for you a little while ago because I love hearing stories like this. There's no way you could have predicted this
No.
at
Oh,
all.
never.
You kept saying yes to the next best thing that made the most sense where your interest was. You also did two really, really important things. When you were 13, you did it. You had enough nerve. You leaned into your hunch. You were inspired. You were motivated. You weren't afraid to talk to adults, meet new people, develop these relationships. And then you carried that same skill by that conversation in the elevator with that woman that was CEO, co-founder. Because really you put yourself out there. Like many would feel too vulnerable. It was too risky. They would just think about being afraid of failure. And you didn't. Like you put yourself out there and started to dream about what was possible. And you could see the development of those skills kept propelling you forward. It's such a fun story. And again, we don't know. There's no way to predict the future, but you can tune into what it is that you want step by step.
I love that you said that, the next best step. That's really one of the things that I one of the things that has been the best lesson in my life, because there's so many different things, like you said, but what we can take in the next step, being aware of what is the next best thing, or just focusing on where are you on the road. And I think that a lot of people really get frozen as they're looking at the big picture. But the big picture creates a lot of things, and really creates a lot of and my company now is called Go Services, and the reason it's called Go, favorite quote is a quote that my dad from Henry David Thoreau, was go direction, live the life you have imagined. And while I was growing through the cranks of corporate America, a lot of women in particular say, so great, I wish I was as confident as you are. And I would think, I really don't have it together all the time. I'm not that confident all the time. I have walked into that boardroom and been intimidated. I have not wanted to fill in the blank. But the thing that really, my dad said this, my greatest, your own, nobody else would.
So true.
And number two is, confidence doesn't come from having done the thing. Confidence comes when you take that next step and you do because then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I did it. Okay, that's done. And the more that you practice it, the more that you feel that you're coming into your own. You're never going to gain confidence by just sitting.
So
So
true.
that is the most important thing that I recommend people.
So tell us about your job. What do you do now and how did you make that pivot?
So in 2017, and I know we had shared a little bit, but in 2017, my friend, mentor, owner of the company that I was working with, she passed away. And we really, her son, who also was to take over, and he passed away. And I knew that, okay, we're not sure what's going to happen. And I started working with a coach to try to figure out what my next step was. And I fell in love with coaching. So I went to get my coaching certificate. In the meantime, the company kept going. I committed to being a part of the company, the legacy of my friend going. And don't regret that. But I knew that, okay, somewhere I'm going to go and do coaching full time. I didn't know to who and when and how, but I loved, so I got a couple different coaching certifications. I got cognitive behavioral techniques, and then I also got holistic coaching. I figure I would work with women, maybe in leadership, maybe mentor women in corporate America as we're coming up the ranks. And there were some women here and there that would say, hey, Julie, would you mind? I know that you're a coach. I never really advertised or told anybody, but people would know and they would come and I would help them. When the pandemic hit, little did I know. First of all, I didn't think we were going to go into that long of a lockdown. Nobody knew. But I got a call. I got a call from the chief operating officer of my company, and he was obviously shaken. He said, I just got a call from our CEO. They've offered me a separate. They're letting me go, being laid off. I thought, oh my goodness, well, don't worry about it. We're going to find you a job. And then I thought, wait a minute, he's the COO. Uh-oh. And sure enough, I got a call. I was next. And in that moment, there was a lot of grief because I was grieving the loss of my friend again. In that moment, though, there was a lot of clarity because I knew exactly. There was already that dream in my heart, and I didn't know again how or when. But that night, because I couldn't sleep, I put together a vision for and that was to be able to help women to really be able to leverage their skills, because sometimes we don't see what we're capable of.
Oh
And
my gosh.
sometimes we need people to
Especially,
remind us.
absolutely, especially older women, like they don't see what they're capable of and they don't have a good appreciation of their transferable skills. And your story in particular emphasizes transferable skills.
Yeah. Suzy, I have to tell you that the other inspiration for knowing that I was not defined is and, a lot of us women, I tend to have one of these complicated relationships with she is probably one of the women I admire the most, but she's also one of these women that I've butted heads with the most. When she turned 50, and I was about to turn 50 when I was laid off, but when she was about to turn 50, she was laid off and she never really worked or did. And here's a highly educated, successful, witty woman. She's an incredible woman. She has a master's in pastoral counseling. She studied in Europe. She went to Georgetown University for her undergrad. I mean, like, we're talking incredible woman, but she was laid off. And I remember her saying, no one's ever going to hire me because I'm
Right.
old. And that was the story that she told her. And I remember thinking, I am never going to myself by, I am never going to tell me that my age is going to anything, especially that I drink.
Or tell you what your age means.
Absolutely.
Right? Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I knew that I wanted to do this, and I knew that there were other women out there that are incredibly gifted, that are incredibly talented, that have these amazing dreams and things that they want to do, but they don't have either the support system or the vision to know how to do from point A to point B to point C, or they need a believing mirror, someone that they can look at and will reflect capability. And that's what I want. So I started to just coach everybody. And that's when I decided, okay, I can coach in leadership. I can coach executives. I can coach new people coming in. But I love working with the entrepreneurs because these women in their midlife who maybe had some they've left behind are looking for freedom. They're looking for maybe fulfilling a dream that they left behind, or maybe they're looking to just start a new chapter that is different, that really fills their soul, but they don't know how. And for me, business comes very easily. So I'm able to then coach them and help them in that process.
That's awesome. I also get very charged up about working with entrepreneurs. There's something about the entrepreneurial spirit and creativity that I find really compelling. So now tell me a little bit about these midlife hiccups. So aging is just one piece of it, and for some people that is a hiccup, and for others they could care less. And but there are some things that we can't control. So tell me a little bit about how those classic midlife issues have popped up and affected you in your life and or your business.
So I would have to tell you that the biggest midlife issue that I've encountered is my own body. My mom had a hysterectomy in her 30s. So I didn't, and by the way, even if maybe she hadn't, I don't think that was necessarily the conversation our mothers were having with us.
Right, right.
So
yeah.
I went into midlife. I never had kids, and I had a hysterectomy at 48, but I never knew what to expect from my body. So I found myself, I have this picture of me in the sailboat that I thought I was sailing into this beautiful ocean. Okay, I have a lot of great adventures coming up. I have new beginnings. And yet it ended up being sort of this hurricane storm. And prior to pandemic, I had done a great job. I had lost 55 pounds. I had been going to them every day, working with the Camino de Santiago. I was planning my trip to Kilimanjaro because I don't want to be stopped, right? But then all of a sudden, I put my head down to work. I put my head down to be a new business. And there's a lot of different things that our body, first of all, if you're not working out, moving your body, you're kind of starting to lose some mobility. And then, of course, there's the anxiety, the hot flash, the everything that it goes through. So that I started to really also suffer from some of the anxiety and that I didn't, is this? Am I having a heart attack? Oh no, wait,
Right. It's so
anxiety.
It's so confusing.
And again, those are some of the hiccups. We're tired, we're irritable. And I found that really, and this is why I say I want to help women CEO of their life and the CEO of my life. But I have to care for myself. I have to make the choices to, yes, I am a type A. I am going to go after, doing the thing, working hard, achieving, but I'm not going to be able to have that success in that area if I am not taking care of myself.
Oh, 100%. Now, one of the things that you said in your notes was that your mom had a fall and broke her pelvis, and that was the first time you realized that we can make all the plans we want in theory.
Yep.
But so, yeah, how did that happen
Suzy,
for you?
And that just is a recent thing because, and again, this all kind of interacts as a hiccup because I knew that my mom is getting older. She's 80. She lives in Atlanta, far away from where. But she fell in the middle of the night. Thankfully, my sister, who is typically away, happened to be coming to meet her and found her after 8 hours on the floor. The break was in 5 different positions, and they can't do anything for other than be in a bed, and then they start to move you and make you stand up despite the excruciating pain. So for me, that hiccup. And I will tell you, I am really grateful that I have the habits and that I have the skills that have allowed me to set up infrastructures within my business. But that is a hiccup because I was going into the beginning of March super excited about the possibilities. I have a trip to Spain that was supposed to happen in May. I was planning for all of that, but then I have a podcast, I have a show, I have this, and all of a sudden, without thinking, right? Because most of us, if not all of us, our parents need us. I got on the hours and I didn't know what that entailed. I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And of course, the fear tellers, because we hear the stories, oh, after my parent broke their thing, they were downhill, right? And then you start to kind of think, and that was a big hiccup that I wasn't in.
Yeah.
That was the thing that, wait a minute. Like, what do I do? So I spent 2 weeks with her in the hospital and then her to rehab, help to, and then she's still there. She's still in rehab. Hopefully she'll be coming home and making slow but steady progress. But again, this is something that I didn't anticipate. The expense, obviously, and that's the least of everything. The anguish for her, I sat as they were trying to move her and excruciating went through. Really, it was agonizing. As an entrepreneur, we cannot anticipate the curveballs that life will throw us. But what we can anticipate is to help us. By the way, I have a phenomenal, I have a phenomenal husband who's my co-owner of the business that, hey, we need to have this kind of keep going. And all of these things happen, but those are the hiccups that we need to understand that are going to happen because life does because we're living our dream.
Absolutely. That's exactly the type of hiccup. That's why I was thankful that you shared it, because we can control as much as we can control, but there are lots of things that end up becoming a priority that we haven't planned for. And yeah, you really had to make some serious changes, and you had some support. And I'm sure you learned more about what you could do in the future when something pops up from that experience, right?
Absolutely. And I think that this is the one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs get on by. When life happens, then they kind of say, oh, I knew it. This is happening. This is terrible. I will never. And by the way, yes, that's your brain. Your brain is meant to say that. And that's what happens. Our brain is programmed to have this fear, to have all these emotions. And there was a moment I had them. Oh my gosh, I was supposed to have a great month. And but then I shifted and I asked myself the right question. Because when we ask the right question, your brain is like a machine that goes to solving for that question. And I said, well, how can I continue to run my business and do what I need to service my client, to keep my commitments to the people that I can keep to? How can I? And I started to kind of work on that. And I found a remote virtual office that I could go to that had a recording studio. I had, while I was at the rehab with my mom, I also could sit in their common room and do some work while she was in physical therapy. So, we cannot just think that this is predestined and we're beaten. We have to figure out and really look and say, who are the helpers? Who are the people that can support you through the process? I have a client.
I love thinking about the helpers, but I also love, again, thinking about transferable skills and your proven track record as not just somebody who's older, but somebody who's older and wiser, and with a proven track record of figuring out all kinds of stuff. We're great at figuring stuff out.
Absolutely. And I think that we don't give ourselves credit
Totally.
many times because the world says, oh, what do you know? You're just a hysterical woman. You're emotional. You're whatever. Right? Not defined by the script that's sent for us to be the person who is going to write the act the script, direct the script, produce it, and be the person who is in charge overall of everything.
Definitely. I love that. And also that you're mentioning one of your main messages is community and connection, relationships, which you started to really understand very early in your career. And also that your community can be there for support and accountability. And that is really highlighted with what you just experienced with your mom. And just the direction of your business is so great. So how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way to find me is you can go at Go Confidently Coaching. You can also find me, Julie DeLucca-Collins, on all of the platforms. I am fairly easy to find. That is typically, you will find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, because that's a really fun place to be and kind of hang out and lose. But yeah, people can find me on my website.
That's great. Amazing, Julie. Thank you so much for taking the time today to share all of this. I really, really love your story. I'm so fascinated by where this entrepreneurial spirit comes from. Like, I was also, the first entrepreneurial thing happened for me when I was 12 as well, with calligraphy and doing envelopes for people for invitations.
So brilliant.
I just, when you think about it, right? Yeah. So I really appreciate how you have figured out how to transfer your skills and help women in a way that's really, really important. And you've been doing your whole life. So, so good.
Thank you, Suzy. It is so fun to be able to be here and to share my experiences because I am not unique. I am not going to be the last or first person that this happens to. And it's really important for individuals, they're not alone, but that they can take parts of my story successful for theirs.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay, that is it for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are amazing too. And of course, we totally appreciate them. If you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur and would like to come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It's never too late for you to put yourself on your agenda. I'm Suzy Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you soon. Now, real quick, before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with the show and are finally ready to make some changes to regret-proof your life, I want to invite you to apply for the Women in the Middle Academy. It's my transformational midlife group coaching program to help you get clear about what's getting in your way so you can get on with the good stuff. head over to www.womeninthemiddleacademy.com. Talk soon.